to my live stream. Glad you could make it today. So today we have some more variable Barricade. Last time we made it through Tiger's level 1 Barricade board, and unfortunately he has endeared himself to me. So I guess we'll see what happens with the other Barricade boards, huh? We've got a few events to do before that, so let's get into it. The ones we have available to us right now. My one true ally. I hated thunder as a child, but it gave me the push I needed to trust my new butler Kasuga. So we have some backstory with Kasuga there. Arimora's dream. Arimora comes to the house to repair Rabi. We start talking and the subject turns to our futures. Or we have a secret meeting. When a stubborn flirt just won't leave me alone, a man I've never met comes to my rescue. I think Rabi needs to be repaired before we can get more Rabi stuff, right? So I'm thinking this one. Bag, uniform. Good, I'm ready. I looked in the mirror and tucked in a few stray strands of hair. And then I picked up my bag and went to my door. Rabi sat in front of it like a miniature and steadfast guardian. I grinned at Rabi and gave it a pat on the head. The robotic rabbit flapped its ears up and down in what I'd like to believe was happiness. Hello, Drag. Hope you're doing well. Rabi responded to the command and raised its arm. Which square of the board is this? Arimora's dream. Which is apparently going to deal with repairing Rabi. I'm okay. Still a little bit in pain, but beyond that I'm okay. And then it happened. Suddenly it began to shudder and jerk about.
Rabi? ちょっと、どうしたの? Rabi!
I called its name over and over, but the alarming jolting didn't stop. Oh, right. I have Arimora's instruction manual. What page would it be? I scanned through the manual, but I couldn't find anything remotely related to what I was seeing. I kept flipping pages, hoping to find something that might help, when suddenly Rabi emitted a strange whine. And then Rabi abruptly stopped, freezing in an unnatural pose. Those boys, what did they do to Rabi? The screen display, which usually had some kind of message, was blank. I tried to keep my mounting concern in check while I pressed the on button and held it. I pressed it harder and held it for longer. But no matter how many times I pushed the button, Rabi didn't turn back on. I picked up the motionless Rabi and clutched it tight. Its mechanical body was cold like always, but this time that sensation was unbearably sad to me. Well, remember, the boys kinda poked at Rabi a lot.
Ibari-sama, そろそろ朝食を召し上がりませんと。
かってる。
But I didn't want to leave Rabbi like this. I pulled out my phone in a last-ditch effort. Arimora, help! Rabbi is dying. I sent the message with a quick wish and a prayer. But in the end, Rabbi didn't budge from its pitiful broken pose. My appetite was completely gone, so I went to school without breakfast. Ichia had stood in the kitchen with his apron on, looking disappointed, but I couldn't make myself eat. I was too worried about Rabbi. I had sent that whiz message a while ago, but it hadn't even been read yet. Didn't Arimora check her phone in the morning? Maybe she forgot it at home, or maybe she was sick and didn't feel like bothering with her phone. If she wasn't feeling well, it was possible she wouldn't be at school today. I stared at the classroom door and took a deep breath to slow my racing heart. The clock ticked mercilessly forward. One by one, students wandered into the room. I glanced at each of them, looking for Arimora. There she was! Our eyes met. I immediately stood up, and accidentally knocked my chair over with a clatter. The room fell silent as everyone's eyes settled on me. I saw Arimora's mouth twitch as she looked away. She didn't have to speak for me to get the message loud and clear. Her posture clearly said, "Don't talk to me."
失礼。
The awkward silence stretched on as I set my chair upright. The moment I sat was like a signal, and the normal classroom chatter picked up again. I relaxed. I took a deep breath and straightened my posture, then snuck a glance at Arimora. I stared at her for a moment, but she showed no indication that she would look back at me. In fact, she deliberately looked in the other direction, sending a clear signal for me to stop staring. I know. I resisted the urge to sigh. Suddenly, my phone buzzed on my desk. Bring what you need after school. Give me your address. The simple message nearly brought tears to my eyes. Robbie would be saved. Filled with relief and gratitude, I sent a brief thank you reply to her. Oh, why not come home with me? Pass. You should know why. Address? Okay, I get it. I stared at her blunt message for a moment before sending along my address. Will she find her way here all right? Maybe it's a bad idea for her to come over. I mean, she has met all the lads. They do know she's our friend. And if we only talk about Ravi actually in our room, then they will never find out. I mean, I gave her my address. Maybe I should have sent someone to get her?
ひばりさん、プレゼントでも届くんですか？なんだかそわそわしてますね。それは聞き捨てならないな。ぜひ俺からも送らせてほしい。甘い口づけを。
It's too soon for that, Ichia.
あっち行って。
ここじゃ恥ずかしいかな。なら俺の部屋にでも。
あっち行ってってば。
Yeah, get lost, Ichia.
でも何か届くなら運びますよ。 俺力持ちです。
大丈夫だからリビングに行ってて。いいって言うまで絶対に出てこないで、わかった？
は
The two of them dragged their feet into the living room, making no bones about their reluctance. I watched them disappear around the corner and... there she is! The doorbell rang cheerily. I didn't even wait for the sound to fade before pulling open the door.
有村さん、いらっしゃい。ラビは私の部屋で待ってるから早く上に。
ちょっと落ち着きなよ。焦ってもしょうがないでしょ。
そうだけど。
ひばり様、お客様でございますか？
Kasuga came into the foyer, having heard the commotion. I opened my mouth to introduce Aramura, when a thought suddenly struck me. I haven't introduced Kasuga to someone like this since Samugi. Realizing that, I kicked into hostess mode.
前に話した有村ノアさん。今日はラビを修理に来てくれたの。彼女、機械にすごく詳しいのよ。
そうでしたか。執事の春日と申します。いつもひばり様と仲良くしていただきありがとうございます。
どうも。
Kasuga smiled politely. Aramura looked away and bobbed her head in a curt bow.
じゃあ、お部屋に行きましょう。早くラビを見てあげて。
では後ほどお茶とお菓子をお運びしますね。有村。
お構いなく。
We had dispensed with the polite formalities, so the two of us hurried to my room. Okay, what's wrong with Ravi? I need to know what's wrong with Ravi. Yeah, I guess Kasuga's investigation did not result in anything that he needed to worry about, huh? The moment we stepped into my room, Noah let out an exhausted sigh.
どうかした？
Noah gave me a look.
なんでもない。もういいから。それよりラビは？
I went and got Rabi for Aramura.
こんな状態なんだけど、治る？
Aramura took the little rabbit from me, flipped it upside down, touched its ears, and in general looked it all around. She pulled a tablet out of her bag and connected it to a port on Rabi with a thick cable. For a time, the only sound in my room was the clicking of keys.
治る。え？さっき治るか聞いたでしょ？治るからじっと見るのやめて。気が散る。30。わか
った。
I turned away from Aramura and breathed a big sigh of relief. Rabi could be fixed! Thank goodness! Once it was all better, I'd have to make sure I took extra good care of it. As those thoughts ran through my head, I kept peeking over my shoulder at Aramura. The most useful thing I could do right now was to stay out of her hair. Oh, I know! I could bring her some tea to thank her. In fact, I think I'd like to brew it myself. I quietly left my room and went to see Kasuga.
うん、これで OK。再起動してみて。
I nervously reached out and gave Rabi's on button a firm press. And Rabi smoothly shifted out of its unnatural pose and began to move. Its ears flapped happily in what I always interpreted as its good morning gesture. It was adorable.
ラビー、よかった。有村さ
バックアップの処理にバグがあったっぽい。
Ah, so it wasn't the boy's fault, okay.
まあメンテくらいはやるよ。私が渡したんだし。
Aramora briskly cleaned up the cords and her tablet, then stood to leave.
じゃあ私はこれで。
もう
だって終わったし。
美味しいお菓子があるの。少しだけでも食べていかない？
I gave her my most earnest look. After a moment, Aramora heaved a sigh.
本当に少しだからね。
I jumped up and hurriedly laid out the snacks and tea. Aramora watched and muttered.
道場って学校にいる時と雰囲気違うよね。
そう？
プライベートはガキっぽい。
And that was a shock. I exhibited decorum and spoke politely in everything I did. Or so I thought. The last thing I expected was to be told I was being like a child.
別に悪い意味で言ったんじゃなくて、学校だとパーフェクトお嬢って感じだから。まあ立場とか周りの目があれだしね。そうなるのもわかる気がするけど、カノなんて詐欺レベルで猫かぶってるし、大和なでしこのカノさんってみんなどこ見てんのかな。
She had a point. Samugi kept much of her, power in check when she was at school. I could totally see how someone would think of her as a world-class actor.
そういえば有村さんとつむぎってどういう知り合いなの？
今でも思い出すとムカつく。私もうかつだったけど。
Aramora's face scrunched up in disgust. Alright, is this Aramora mode telling a story then? Okay. So yeah, it was right after we started second year. It had become my ritual to go out and have a blast in the city to blow off stress from our stuffy school. After school one day, I booked it to the powder room I used to get changed. That's when the nightmare began. School today was the worst. How can those girls walk around saying, "How do you do?" to everyone like that? Don't they feel like total clowns? Anyway, where do I want to hang out tonight? A club? A pub? Ooh, maybe I could pick up some hot guy on the streets and ask him to do karaoke with me. What's her deal? Gothic Lolita? Oh, that fabric looks heavy. Doesn't she get a backache hefting all that around? Oh well, not like we'd get along or anything. Wait, where's my wig? There. Maybe I should change up my wig color. Get something with highlights? That'd be cool. I want to graduate so I can dye my hair for real. Gotta get going. Now let's see. Who do I want to see today? I just hung out with Kenji last night. Maybe Naoto? Or Hiro? Which one? Someone trying to hit on me?
何かよ。
Hey, it's that goth lolly chick from before. What does she want? Wait a minute, she looks familiar. I'd seen her before. Recently. Close up. Makeup and costume hide a lot, but... She was Samugi Kano, my new classmate. Great, this sucks.
パウダールームに入ってくるところから 拝見しておりましたのよ。
The whole time? I didn't expect to see. No, I didn't expect to find one of the stuck-up young ladies from St. Agnes around here. Kano gave me a kind grin.
どこかでお茶しません？変身上手な有村さん。
今思い出しても悪夢。
Arimura grimaced and I grinned dryly.
悪い子じゃないのよ。ちょっと癖があるだけで。
まあね、悪いやつだとは思わない。面倒くさくて腹黒くて計算高いとは思うけど。
I'm more impressed as me you can wear that outfit in public on the streets. Yeah, certainly takes guts. Although I suppose if you're going to somewhere where you're more likely to see that kind of alternative fashion, it's probably not a problem. I couldn't disagree.
けど、話してると面白いし、下世話な話ができるのは楽。でも、やっぱ学校じゃ話したくない。
目立つから？
Laura nodded.
何か嫌なことでもあったの？
別にそういうわけじゃないけど。
Like she was going to say more, so I sat quietly and waited.
つまんない話だけど、いいの？
I nodded enthusiastically. She sighed and warned me it might take a while. Then she began to speak.
うちってさ、いわゆる成金なんだよ。ちょっと前までは普通の家だったのに、父親の特許のせいで急に金持ち。そのせいで両親がアメリカに呼ばれて、私もついていく予定だったけど、結局日本に残った。
どうして？
母親がアニエスに行けって言ったから。何せ成金だからさ、セレブの習慣とか今から勉強しなきゃいけないわけ。それにアニエス出てるだけで箔がつくしね。母親のことは嫌いじゃないし、それなりに尊敬してるから、まあいいかって。
そうだったの。
でも想像以上に息苦しいとこだった。仲良く見えても相手の家柄とか気にしてるし、言葉、まあそういうとこじゃ成金はストレス発散にもってこいでしょ。
Laura shrugged and said it didn't really bother her that much. But I could easily see how that experience would kill a person's desire to be involved in high school life. She may not have said as much, but I could read between the lines enough to know that was how she felt.
けど高校卒業したらアメリカ行くし、あと 1,2 年ぐらい地味キャラやるよ。その分放課後に遊びまくる。そういうわけだから、大人気のあんたとつるんで妬まれたりするのはごめんなの。両親にも迷惑かけたくないし、学校ではこれまで通りスルーでよろしく。
She spoke so matter-of-factly, I couldn't bring myself to say anything in reply. What she experienced was the unfortunate truth. St. Agnes was a school for the well-to-do. Pedigree was definitely a matter of concern. If your family was wealthy and influential, then you were considered well-bred. People flocked to those who were well-bred. I knew that better than anyone. The jealousy was also very real, as were the petty attacks that came with it. Poor Samugi put up with so much in middle school.
カノさん、いい加減になさったら。東條様のお友達のような振る舞いは控えてくださらない？
I Tsumugi might have put up a tough front while I was watching, but I'm sure their words hurt. As I thought back on it, my eyes drifted to the floor.
ごめんなさい。これから気をつけるから。
I bit my lip, feeling guilty for how thoughtless and selfish I'd been.
ちょっとなんで謝るわけ？これは私の勝手な都合だし、あんた別に悪くないじゃん。
でも
確かにアニエスに入ったのは失敗。でも友達なら外にたくさんいるから別にいいやって思ってる。それにやりたいこと山ほどあるから、そっちのこと考えるのでぶっちゃけ必死。学校のこと考えてる暇全然ない。
やりたいことって？
いろいろあるよ。アメリカ行ったら興味のあることは全部勉強するつもり。あとはバックパッカーもしてみたいし、起業にも興味ある。当然いい男も捕まえる。結婚はどっちでもいいけど、でかい家には住む。まあ結婚とかは置いといても、学生のうちはやりたいこと全部やるよ。縛られてるもの何にもないから。
Backpacking drag is traveling around with basically just a carry-on bag. It sometimes involves hiking, but often doesn't, especially if you're a rich student. It probably just involves going from place to place and, well, possibly staying in hostels rather than hotels. But yeah, it's sort of gap year sort of stuff. Rimura's smile was blinding. I never realized how powerful it was to talk about the things you wanted to do, in your own words.
すごい。
はあ？すごいのはそっちでしょ？家柄とか財産とか後継ぎとか。私は好き勝手してるだけだし。
She really is amazing.
何？
Aramora looked uncomfortable. I'd been staring. I quickly averted my eyes.
お菓子もっと出すわね。たくさん食べて。
いいってば、もう帰るから。
あとちょっとだけ。
As I set out more snacks on the tray, I realized my heart was dancing. This must be how it feels to make new friends.
それじゃ、本当にこれで。
いつでも遊びに来て。
気が向いたらね。
お帰りですか。よろしければお車をお出ししますが。
Kasuga must have kept an ear out for us, because he appeared in the foyer right as we walked in.
結構です。タクシーもう呼んだので。
While Aramora quickly put on her shoes, I walked over to the living room door and opened it.
あ、やっぱりノアちゃんだ。こんにちは。もうこんばんはかな。
Shion's smile was as graceful and beautiful as ever. Aramora looked at him, her eye twitching slightly. I was sure it was bad memories from when she tried to hit on him before. I'm sorry, Aramora.
おお、マジでノアじゃねえか。なんだよ、せっかく来たんなら晩飯食ってけ。
用事あるから遠慮しときます。
ほら、もういいでしょ。有村さんは用事があるんだから。行きましょう。
I took her by the elbow and tugged her after me as we stepped out of the house. I bowed to her in apology. She gave me a sympathetic look.
別にいいけど、あんたも大変だね。また何かあったら連絡して。ウィスで。
She put an emphasis on the word whiz. I grimaced and nodded.
タクシー来たから。じゃ。
I watched the taxi drive away. My thoughts idly going through the events of the afternoon. Mora was so free. It wasn't only because of her family situation. She made a concerted effort to be free. When she said that she was going to do what she wanted to do, she absolutely shone in my eyes. The Tojo family heir. That future always loomed over me. I didn't particularly hate the idea of it. Not anymore. But I couldn't deny that a tiny piece of my heart was envious of her.
ひばりちゃん、ご飯だよ。
早く入ってこいよ。全部食っちまうぞ。
タイガさんずるいじゃなくて、ひばりさんの分は俺が守りますから。 君たち、俺はひばりさんのために作ってるんであって。
ひばりちゃん、早く戻っておいで。
I sighed and reluctantly turned toward the front door. I'd like to hang out with her and Mora again sometime. Maybe we could even become better friends. I assume they were all sort of standing at the door. Hey, Ravi's bringing back new video now he's fixed. Ooh, and a whiz message. Oh, choices, choices. Ravi!
今朝のひばりさんも愛らしかった。朝食を美味しそうに食べるあの表情を間近で見られるのは俺の特権だな。
一夜、それ本気で言ってる？一夜は彼女の怒った顔しか見たことないでしょ。
そんなわけないだろう。俺はひばりさんが微笑む姿を毎日のように瞳に焼き付けているよ。一瞬瞳が星のように輝いて、その後は黙々とそればかりを食べ続けるんだ。美味しいか聞くとそこそこなんて言ってね。
それを言うなら、ファッションとか美容は僕の特権だよね。実は彼女、フリルとかレースが大好きなの知ってる？自分じゃ言わないけどね。僕が持ってる中世貴族の服装図鑑を見せてあげたら、頬を赤くして見入ってた。喜んでるのを隠してるのも可愛かったな。
レース、フリル。普段そういう服装をしているところは見なかったが、そんな一面が？いや、それなら俺も。彼女はね、ぬいぐるみとお話ししてるんだよ。いつもは照れ隠しをしてしまう彼女が素直な瞳でまっすぐにぬいぐるみを。
それ、どこで見たの？
リビングさ。誰もいないと思ったみたいでね。ドアを開けたらソファーに彼女が。
一夜、それ、覗きでしょ。
違う。声をかけるタイミングがつかめなかっただけで。まさか悔しいからって言いがかりかい？
悔しい？僕が？じゃあ教えてあげる。
Are they just having a conversation that's trying to one up each other on this?
彼女がお話しするの。庭の花に話しかけてるのを聞いたんだ。すごく小さい声で綺麗ねって。僕は覗き見しないで声をかけたよ。そしたら恥ずかしそうにしてたけど、 彼女の照れた顔も好きなんだよね、僕。他に僕が知ってる可愛いところはね、ひばりちゃん、外国語の発音が苦手なんだよ。フランス語の発音を練習してた時に舌を噛んじゃったのは可愛かったな。で、一夜は他にないの？
当然あるさ。ひばりさんはテレビでスイーツ特集をしていると心ここにあらずになるんだよ。ぽーっと夢中になった瞳が何とも言えず愛らしい。あれこそ彼女の真の姿だろうね。
でもこれは見たことないんじゃない？ひばりちゃんが小さくあくびするところ。
あくびを？でもシオン、ひばりさんがホットミルクを飲んで熱っというのを聞いたことは？
じゃあ彼女が伸びをしてって言ったのはあんまり見れないと思うけど。
じゃあこれは？
それなら僕も。
ひばりさんのことよく見てるじゃないか、シオン。
一夜もまあまあだね。ちょっとだけ見直したよ。
Get these two some hobbies. I clenched my fists, but I knew I had to keep my indignant feelings to myself. Yep, can't let them know we're onto them. Yeah, I can stay on the second floor for now.
どうした？いい
Liz.
っすか？何？
Ah, from Arimura. How's Ravi? It's feeling much better. You worked a miracle, Arimura. Thank you. Don't exaggerate. But it's true. I really think you're an amazing person. Not only did you have the skill to fix Ravi, but the way you think too. You know, about the future. You can look at things from different angles. I'm almost jealous. Ugh. Well, yeah, I'm different from you. Duh. Besides, that stuff is all wishful thinking. Wishes were horses, beggars would ride. Maybe, but I could never think the way you do. Don't tell yourself that. I don't like it when people get all defeatist. I'm sorry. I wasn't asking for an apology. You're you, okay? You're the only you on planet Earth. Huh? All the good stuff, all the bad stuff, put together it makes you. Yeah, I get being jealous. I'm jealous of others sometimes. I'm still me. All I'm capable of is being my best self as much as I can. So, I should be me too. Yeah. I'll handle Ravi's maintenance, but I'm not on board to fix you too. Oh, good point. But, if possible, I do want to chat with you more. But that's just a wish, really. Now you're getting it. So you won't? Nope. Well, maybe. Oh, which is it? Maybe, if I'm in the mood. Sorry, today's beau is here. Gotta run. Oh, Sure. Wait. What's a bow? Alright, so now we have my one true ally, which will feed into this one. Or a secret meeting, which will then let us feed into this one down here. And possibly open up the next board, actually. Yeah, let's go for the small event. Backstory event. It was an ordinary morning, but dark, thick clouds gathered in the sky outside my window. Looks like it's going to rain. My head hurt a little, probably because of the drop in air pressure. I sighed, then left my bedroom to go have breakfast.
Ohayo, Hibari-chan.
ああ、じゃあおはようさ。
ひばりさん、おはようございます。お腹すきましたか？俺はペコペコです。早く食べましょう。
ラユタ、食事の時は静かにしてくれ。ひばりさん、今日は君のために美味しいパニーニを用意したんだ。
A panini, huh?
君の可愛い口でも食べやすいように少し小さめにしたからね。今持ってくるよ。
I guess you've got to consider that you get to choose the order of the level 1 boards, and therefore this is an Uchiha that hasn't been shouted at about making small portions of weird stuff. Okay, now my headache's worse. I took a seat, scowling over the immense headache that clearly wasn't due to the air pressure.
ひばりさん、午後から台風来るって知ってました？雨もザバザバ降るらしいですよ。
Why is he so excited?
ああ、そういや雷も鳴るとか言ってたぜ。この辺に落ちねえといいけどな。
Lightning? Yeah, a panini is more like lunch. Lunch, not breakfast. I startled at what Tiger said. Then I looked up and saw him snickering at me.
なんだよじゃあ。もしかして怖えのね？雷さん。
なんだ。それなら早く言ってくれればいいのに。ねえ、今晩は僕のベッドで一緒に眠ろう。朝まで一緒にいてあげる。そうしたら安心して眠れるでしょ。
Absolutely not.
別に私は。
ちょっと待った。その役目は俺が引き受けさせてもらうよ。ひばりさん、君のことは俺が守るからね。
あ、みんなでお泊まり会ですか？それなら俺トランプとかお菓子とかいっぱい持って。
Oh my gosh.
静かにして。
The boys all shut their mouths and blinked their eyes. They let out a deep and exasperated sigh.
勘違いしないで。別に雷なんて怖くないわ。私はいくつだと思ってるの？
年齢は関係ないよ。君みたいにデリケートな人ならあの大きな音に怯えても。
だから違います。それにもし万が一私が雷を怖がるタイプだとしても、あなたたちに頼ることは絶対にないわ。
じゃあ一人でベッドの中で震えてるつもり？
Not alone. Got Rabby.
そんな予定はないけど、 もしもの時は春日がいますから。
私が何か？
なんでもない。
Kasuga looked curious, but I casually averted my gaze. I didn't want to talk about this because Kasuga was around.
それより春日、そろそろ美容院に行きたいんだけど。
はい。そうおっしゃる頃だと思って週末に予約を入れてありますよ。
Shouldn't Naruto be scared of lightning because he's a dog. Are all dogs frightened of lightning? I actually have no idea.
So, ありがとう。
いえ。では、車の用意をしてまいります。
Oh, good. Now's my chance to get out of here. I turned away from Kasuga and flinched immediately. All the boys were staring at me.
何？
I questioned them with suspicion, and Ichiya smiled awkwardly as he set the food down.
いや、相変わらず春日君とはあうんの呼吸というか。ですよね。春日さん、ひばりさんのことは何でもお見通しって感じで。
確実、執事の域は超えてるよね。
何が言いたいの？
いや、だから
執事君と仲が良すぎるんじゃないかなって。
は？
いや、分かっているよ。君にとって彼は有能な執事。そばにいれば心強いのは当然だろう。だが春日君はどうなんだい？こんなに魅力的な女性と一緒にいて心を奪われない方がおかしいだろう。それってつまり
春日が隠れライバルってか？それも面白いな。
Yep. Yeah, if he had his own roots, then yes.
どうなのかな？ね、教えて、ひばりちゃん。
These stupid boys! They could have been joking around, but I suspected they were halfway serious. I shook my head at the absurdity of it all.
春日は私の専属執事なの。付き合いも長いし、信頼もしてる。けど、それ以外の何者でもない。春日だってきっとそう言うわよ。っていうか、そんなこと本人に言ったら鼻で笑われるだけだと思う。
いや、でもそれはひばりさんが気づいていないだけという可能性も。
もうこの話は終わり。ありえないこと言わないで。
I silently ate my panini and made a quick exit from the dining room. Good grief! Such clueless boys! Fed up, I went outside to find Kasuga waiting for me after he finished getting the car ready.
おや、眉間にシワを寄せてどうなさいました？まるで般若の面そっくりですが。
See? How could someone like that be romantically interested in me? Tsumugi and I were having lunch together as usual. I was complaining about what happened this morning when Tsumugi smiled and said something meaningfully.
でも彼らの気持ちも理解できますわ。
春日さんはどう見てもひばり様に一番近い男性ですもの。それにお嬢様と執事という設定は乙女なら誰しも一度は妄想する禁断の恋愛。
Oh no, someone flipped her weirdo switch. I waited for Tsumugi to take a pause in her ramblings about all these stories involving ladies and their butlers. Then I heaved a long sigh.
ね、紬。私と春日がそんな関係じゃないってあなたはよく知ってるでしょ。ええ、それはもちろんよーく分かっておりますわ。それならただ少し懐かしくなってしまって。懐かしい？ええ、私もひばり様とお友達になって間もない頃、春日さんとの仲を邪推したことがありましたから。ほら、中等部の頃。
Middle school, and Kasuga. Oh no, not this awful story.
ねえ、紬、さっき言ってたアニメなんだけど。そう、あれはよく晴れた日のことでしたわね。
It's no use. She's going full speed ahead. Tsumugi began talking with an enraptured expression, despite me being on the verge of tears.
当時中等部3年だった英子さんはある男性に恋をしていました。そう、その相手こそ春日さんでしたわね。ひばり様の送迎をなさる春日さんを一目見た時から彼の姿が頭から離れなくなってしまったそうですわ。
How does she know all that?
ある日、英子さんは積もりに積もった思いを春日さんに打ち明けました。けれど問題はここからでした。なんとその告白を目撃していた人物がいたのです。ね、ひばり様。いや、あれはあの時のひばり様のすねっぺり、可愛すぎてもだえ死ぬかと思いましたわ。私の世話をするよりも可愛い女の子と一緒にいたいんでしょ。春日なんてもう知らない。これはもしや禁断の。当時の私は夜も眠れぬほどに胸をときめかせたものでした。
Tsumugi's seemingly endless capacity to fantasize about Kasuga and I astounded me. I could have questioned her about it for hours. But I figured no matter what I asked her, she'd just say there was always room to dream about love.
そんな可愛い思い出じゃなかったわよ。ええ、まあ結果的には地獄の門が開いたレベルの大惨事が待ち受けておりましたわね。八つ当たり半分に春日さんを無視し続けてちょうど1週間。今も覚えておりますわ。笑顔のまま激怒する春日さんの本気を。
Man, Hibari must have looked adorable doing that.
私もあんな春日は初めて見たわ。しばらく夢に見るくらい怖かった。ええ、私ともあろうものが半べそを書いて平謝りするひばり様に燃える余裕もありませんでしたもの。
We both shivered thinking about how Kasuga acted that day. Then Tsumugi settled down and forced a smile.
私もあの時のお二人の様子を見て悟りましたわ。あ、これはないなと。ひばり様のすね方も今思えば恋しい男性への嫉妬というより、お気に入りのぬいぐるみを取られそうになって暴れているお子様のあれでしたものね。春日さんの対応も好きな女の子に誤解されてキレたというよりは行き過ぎた教育的指導のノリでしたし。確かにその通りだと思ってるけど、他人に言われるとなんか腹が立つわね。あ
あら失礼。ほほほほ。まあそういうわけですから、私は今さら春日さんとの仲を疑ったりいたしませんけれど、そうでない方から見れば気になるのもわからなくはないですわ。まして花婿候補の方々なら余計に。
そんなこと言われたって春日なのに。
Said we were too close, but that was just normal for us.
大丈夫ですわ。私が思うに、多分あの方々も本気で春日さんとの仲を疑っているわけではないと思います。
ならどうして？
話の流れから察するに、あなたに頼られる春日さんが羨ましかったのでは？
私が春日に頼るのは当然でしょ。春日は私の執事なんだから。だいたいあの人たちが春日より頼りになると思う？断じてありえないし、比較にもならないわ。
ええ、それはもちろんそうなんでしょうけれど、花婿候補の皆さんも苦労なさいますこと。
何か言った？
いいえ、何も。
Tamugi looked at me with a troubled but ultimately bright smile on her face. Later, after school, the cloudy sky that was so gloomy this morning now looked as though it could rain at any moment. The wind feels tepid and strange. It really started to pick up, so I held my hair back. Then...
お待たせいたしました、ひばり様。到着が遅れてしまい申し訳ありません。じき雨が降り出します。台風が来る前に帰りましょう。
それにしてもすごい色の雲。きっと今夜は豪雨でしょうね。
ええ、風もさらに強くなるそうですし、今晩は早めにお休みください。ああ、それから雷警報も出ていますが、寝ずの番は必要でしょうか？
そんなの必要ないに決まってるでしょ。何年前の話をしてるのよ。
Embarrassed, I turned my gaze to the window, but saw Kasuga smiling in its reflection.
申し訳ありません。あれは私にとって大切な思い出なので。
言っておくけど、今はもう平気よ。私だって成長したんだから。
ええ、よくわかっておりますよ。ですが、もしもの時は私をお呼びください。どんな些細なことからでも必ずあなたをお守りする。それが私の役目ですから。
Kasuga's smile still reflected in the window and made me feel a little uncomfortable. So I frowned at him and said,
怒ってるよ。
brimming with satisfaction, Kasuga turned his attention forward. Maybe he had heard me grumble at him. Yeah, I'm sure he'll protect us from anything we ask him to. Right? After dinner, I was doing my homework in my room when I looked up at the sound of raindrops hitting the window. At the same time, a strong wind shook the. At the same time, a strong wind shook the I'm having problems with this line. It's not supposed to be a tongue twister. At the same time, a strong wind shook the storm shutter. thunder. It's getting closer. I chuckled to myself and easily kept my composure as I listened to the low rumbling sound. I wasn't scared of little thunder and lightning. What I told the boys before was true. However, I used to be really scared of it though.
雷警報も出ていますが、寝ずの番は必要でしょうか？
Fond memory naturally brought a smile to my face. I'm not even the slightest bit frightened of thunder anymore, ever since getting through that night. It wasn't long after Kasuga had become my personal butler. I was about 9 years old. At first, I wouldn't even approach him, let alone trust him. The reason was simple. I figured he wouldn't be around long anyway. However, our relationship entirely changed one night. Oh. I'm okay. I'm not scared. I'm not a baby. There's nothing to be afraid of. All I have to do is go to sleep. Yeah. Just fall asleep already. I'm not afraid. Not at all. I crawled under the covers and shut my eyes tightly. It was the only way I knew how to get through the loneliness on a night like this. If only Mother and Father were still alive. And then they would have let me sleep in their bed, right? If I told them I was scared, they would have stayed by my side and held me tight.
ひばり様は本当にしっかりしていらっしゃいますわね。さすがは東条の跡継ぎです。波の子供と同じ扱いでは失礼。
I shut my eyes tighter as the adults' voices echoed in my mind. That's right. I'm the Tojo heir. So I can't be afraid of thunder and lightning. I shouldn't need to depend on someone else. Suddenly, the sound of a knock echoed throughout my room, making me cower.
ひばり様、いらっしゃいますか？
Kasuga?
お嬢様、いらっしゃるのなら返事をしてください。
What did he come here for?
いらっしゃらない。
That's right. I'm not here. So just go away.
失礼いたします。
Did he just come in? Yeah, he's coming closer.
ひばり様、お休み中ですか？
何？もう寝るところだけど。
そうでしたか。雷の影響で停電したので様子を見に来たのですが。
The power's out? I didn't notice because I already had the lights off.
何も問題がなければ私はこれで失礼させていただきます。
ええ、大丈夫よ。問題なんか何もないから。
ではお邪魔をしてしまい申し訳ありませんでした。私はこれで。ああ、また雷が鳴り出しましたね。もう一度くらい落ちるかもしれません。
Once more? How can you be so calm? All that rumbling and banging. Oh no!
ひばり様、 本当に何も問題はありませんか？雷が鳴っておりますが。
だから大丈夫って言ってるでしょ。雷なんか全然怖くないんだから。だからさっさと出て行って。
I'm telling the truth, really. Thunder and lightning can't scare me. That's right. It's true. It's true. Why isn't he saying anything? I had gotten a little caught up in my worries, so I tried to take a peek at what he was doing.
わかりました。
Then I heard a mysterious sound. I fearfully poked my head out from under the covers. Why is he sitting there? For some reason, Kasuga had settled down right next to the bed. He began adjusting the brightness of the lantern.
ねえ、
はい、何でしょう。
そこで何してるの？
寝ずの番ですが。
寝ずの番？
ええ、荒れた天気は今夜いっぱい続くそうですから、停電以外にも問題が起きるかもしれませんし。
そんなの私は全然平気。
いいえ、いけません。私はひばり様の専属執事ですから、あなたの身をお守りするのも仕事です。
でも
明日も学校があるでしょ。早く眠りませんと起きるのが辛くなりますよ。
けど
大丈夫ですよ。安心してお休みになってください。私がおそばにおりますから。
そんな風にご機嫌取りしたって私には無駄。騙されないんだから。
ご機嫌取りですか？
By the time I realized what I'd said, it was already too late. Kasuga tilted his head to the side curiously. I fumbled my words, unable to escape his gaze.
だって今まで私の専属使用人になった人はみんなそうだったもの。私を余計に褒めちぎったりへつらったり変な風にこびてきたり、みんな私が東条の跡継ぎだから世話をしてただけ。あなただって同じでしょ。それくらい分かって。
いえ、全くの見当違いですが。
は？
そのような目論み、私は持っておりませんが、何か？
でもだって。
はあ。
He just sigh at me?
あなたは何か勘違いしておられますね。執事の仕事というのは、主を甘やかして媚びを売るなんて安っぽいものではありませんよ。第一、使用人だからといって下僕になったつもりはございませんので。まったく、あなたに取り入るためなら靴でも舐めるようなプライド最下層の人間と一緒にされるとは。はあ。
Well, he certainly has a sharp tongue.
そもそも、あなたはご自分のことをちゃんと理解されていませんね。あなたはご自分が思っているほど大人ではありません。むしろ、大変わがままで意地っ張り。これはよくよく見ていなくては大変なことになると、毎日ハラハラしていたところです。
ママ、ハラハラ。
No one's ever said this to me before. Kasuga continued on words. Kasuga continued on calmly, without caring how stunned I was.
執事とはあなたの片腕とも言える存在です。そして有能な片腕であるほど、主の長所、短所、好き嫌いなど全てを把握しているもの。また全て知り尽くしているからこそ、主の真の望みを察し、可及的速やかに叶えるよう動くこともできる。わかりますか？執事というのはいわば唯一無二の絶対的な味方なのです。
はい。
なので私にはあなたに媚びている暇などないんですよ。あなたのお役に立たなければいけないので。今私がここにいる理由は、ひばり様が心地よく安心してお休みになるために必要だから、そう判断したためです。
でも私は頼んでない。
失礼ながら、ひばり様はまだご要望をお口に出されるのが不慣れなご様子なので、自己判断させていただきました。
必要ない。
本当に？
本当は。
Covered my mouth in a panic, then looked at Kasuga out of the corner of my eyes.
今のは違うの。光ったからちょっとびっくりしただけ。
ええ、わかっております。私はここにいますので、安心してください。
違う。
大丈夫ですよ。どこかに行ったりしませんから。おやすみなさいませ、ひばり様。
Nearly an hour had passed, and Kasuga still showed no signs of moving. Why has this guy been here this whole time? I told him I didn't want him to. I even told him to get out. So why? How come? Why was he with me? Was it because he was my most steadfast and reliable ally? No matter how many times I closed my eyes or tried to sleep, the words stayed stuck in my head.
ひばり様？
I hopped out of bed and vigorously pulled the covers over Kasuga and myself.
これは一体。
Yes, I want more adorable little Hibari. I mean, Hibari's always adorable, but she's even more adorable when she's younger.
こんなところに座り込んで風でもひかれたら困るでしょ。あなたは私の執事なんだから、体調を崩されたら私の責任になるの。だから仕方なく。
Kasuga stared blankly at me for a moment. Then a smile spread over his face in surprise.
お心遣いありがとうございます。ですが、それではあなたが風邪をひいてしまいますよ。さあ、ベッドへ。
ここでいい。
ですが、
It felt much safer when I was next to someone like this rather than lying in bed all alone. He should know that. He's my butler after all. As I turned away defiantly from Kasuga, I sensed a smile coming from him.
では、もう少しこちらに寄ってください。その方が暖かいですから。
It was so comfortable and warm to be nestled next to someone else that I fell asleep before I knew it. Then I heard a gentle voice in my dreams.
安心してください。どんなことがあっても、私はひばり様の味方ですよ。ですから、安心して頼ってください。 どんな時でも。
I should have agreed, even if it was a dream. That night, I forgot all about the thunder and slept soundly.
あれからよね。春日に対して遠慮がなくなったのって。
He was exceedingly mature and composed for an 11-year-old, and he had an extremely sharp tongue. He was always right, but he also said all kinds of things that grated on my nerves. Nevertheless, since that stormy night, he had undoubtedly become my truest ally. As I was smiling fondly about the distant memory, there was a sudden knock at my bedroom door.
ひばり様、お茶をお持ちしました。
ありがとう。
Kasuga came in, poured the tea into a cup, and gently placed it on my desk. Then he said,
天気が荒れてきたので心配していましたが、本当にもう大丈夫なようですね。
もうだから平気だって言ったでしょ。
そうでしたね。その顔をお見せすれば、花婿候補の皆様もご安心されるかと。
なんであの人たちに？
ひばり様が心配だと大騒ぎしていましたから。
Us, huh?
彼らの場合、心配してるんじゃなくて、私を構う口実が欲しいだけでしょ。
もちろんそれもあるでしょうが、あなたのことを心配していたのも事実だと思いますよ。
春日って案外彼らのことを擁護するわよね。
そうでしょうか。普通ですが。
I furrowed my brow and ignored the way he cocked his head to the side in doubt. Kasuga strangely seems to have a soft spot for them in general, doesn't he? Until now, he had been so overprotective that it was off-putting. If anyone got close to me that he didn't like, even a little, he'd immediately make them take a hike. And yet, he gives the suitors free rein. I was sure Kasuga would have managed to do something if he'd wanted to, even if this was all Grandfather's orders. I'd had a small thought in the back of my mind ever since the beginning of this living situation.
ねえ、春日。
なんでしょう。
He looked at me curiously. I took a moment to think before I spoke.
ここでの生活を黙認したのは、彼らが花婿にふさわしいと思ってるから？春日は彼らを認めてるの？
He blinked once at my question, then smiled slightly.
では、私の気持ちも少しお話ししておきましょうか。
Yeah, can I have your honest opinion of these dudes, Kasuga?
ひばり様が東条家の跡継ぎである以上、婿を取ることは必然です。その時が来れば、私も全力で花婿選びをするつもりでした。ですが、あなたはまだ高校生、まだ猶予があると思い込んでいたのです。
驚いただけ？
いえ、当然反対もしましたし、ご乱心ですかともお尋ねしました。
That's a little harsher than I would have put it.
ですが、大旦那様から事情を伺って納得せざるを得ませんでした。あなたのためにはそうするしかないと。
ちょっと待って。その事情って何？私は何も。
Yeah, what circumstances, Kasuga? As I leaned forward, Kasuga shook his head at me slightly.
それに関しては、大旦那様からしかるべき時にお話があるでしょう。私からは申し上げられません。
Suspicious. Kasuga clearly wasn't going to speak further on the subject, even though I tried to show I wasn't satisfied. When I reluctantly backed down, he spoke again, looking pleased.
私の正直な気持ちを申しますと、花婿候補の皆様は様子見です。
Right.
いずれ花婿を取るのであれば、彼らについても検討の余地はあるかと。それに、この機会に、ひばり様のコミュ障、いえ、恥ずかしがり屋な面も克服できれば儲けものですから。
What impaired communication skills? Kasuga brushed aside my glare and smiled happily at me.
ですが、ご安心ください。もし本気で彼らを嫌がった時には、私が全力で排除いたしますので。
Hello, Nick. I hope the headache goes away soon. I wasn't a fan of his choice of words, but I understood what he was saying. This was the Kasuga I knew. It was very like him. Although I was somewhat taken aback, I still asked the question that sprang to mind.
じゃあ春日は最終的にどんな花婿なら認めるつもり？
それはもちろん毒にも薬にもならないお飾りに甘んじる方が一番かと。
So, Kasuga, you want Hibari to have a trophy husband?
東条家当主とはいわば孤高の王、つまりひばり様は女王になるお方です。たとえ結婚相手だろうと前や横に立つことは許されません。後ろで静かにしていただかなくては。
Kasuga, you realize those boys don't work for that. Outside of maybe Shion, except that... No. Not even beside me.
でもお飾りの花婿じゃ頼りないでしょ。私だって助けが必要な時も。
それは私の役目だと自負しておりますが、違いますか？
Ah, right. Kasuga doesn't want Hibari's future husband to take over his job. I see. And yeah, Kasuga definitely stands off stage. He's dressed as a stage ninja. Ready to run onto the stage and sort things. Yeah, YouTube has not been complaining about the connection at my end, I'm afraid, Nick. He said this with a smile, rendering me speechless. I mean, it is, but...
なんでそんなに自信満々なのよ。
それが私がここにいる理由ですので。
I fell silent and Kasuga's expression turned serious.
私はひばり様がどんなお相手を選ぼうとも決してあなたのそばを離れません。この世の誰よりあなたを優先しそばで支える絶対的な味方であり続けます。ですから安心してください。
His gentle and calm words seeped into my heart. I believed him from the bottom of my heart. Because Kasuga was my truest ally. That wouldn't change no matter whom I married. There was no way I'd ever part with him. I smiled at him despite feeling a little embarrassed. Then I said one more thing. Kasuga smiled back gently and bowed as if to give me his word. Aww. That was a rather adorable event. Rabby video.
たまに妙な視線を感じるんだよね。
Ooh, Tiger and Kasuga.
やっぱロックはいいよな。じゃんじゃんじゃじゃん。
イスルギ様、音楽を楽しむのは結構ですが。
ああ、春日。
おう、ではありません。
なんだ、眉間にしわ寄せて。俺か？
ええ。というか、やはり無自覚だったんですね。今日はあなたの騒音について苦情を申し上げに来ました。
騒音？
イスルギ様がかけている音楽がいつもお部屋から漏れています。おまけにエレキギターの音まで。
騒音ってそれほどじゃねえだろ。
いえ、ひばり様のお部屋にも稀に響いていることがあります。幸いご在宅中は免れていますが。
マジか。一応気を使ってはいたんだけどよ。
これからは十分気をつけてください。ひばり様は騒がしい音楽をあまり好みませんし、ご近所にも。
わかったわかった。気をつける。ヘッドホンでもすりゃいいんだろ。
そうですね。工夫をすれば騒音出さずとも音楽は楽しめます。
I wonder if maybe the problem is the frequency of the electric guitar. Like maybe the sound carries further. I don't know.
高音質ヘッドフォンにつきましてはおすすめのものがございますので、いつでもご相談ください。
ああ、いいって。自分で気に入ったやつにするからよ。
ですが、ブリティッシュロックの重点音を再生するにはそれなりにこだわったものでないと。
British rock, huh?
あの低音があるからこそ生きる音楽と言っても過言では。
なんだ春日、お前音楽にも詳しいのか？
多少ですが。
執事様の素養ってやつか。でもお前が聞くのなんかどうせ重厚なクラシックだろ。刺激も何も。
デスメタルです。
Can't say I expected that. But
ですから私が好んで聞くのはデスメタルですが、何か？
マジかよ。
そういうわけですので、騒音の件よろしくお願いいたします。
あいつの闇深えな。
I'm just imagining Kasuga in his room with his headphones on. Just headbanging to death metal. I was stunned too when I learned about Kasuga's musical tastes. It's something I can't understand about him, no matter how hard I try. But there's no accounting for taste, as they say. I sighed, resigning myself to the fact that I would never understand neither Kasuga nor Tiger's taste in music. Alright. We have one event remaining for us. It's a secret meeting. Before that, I'm going to go get some more water. I will be right back. I'm back. So, a secret meeting.
ひばり様、次はあのお店にしましょう。
少し可愛すぎない？
いいえ、もっとレースを足してもいいくらいです。あっちのお店も捨てがたいですわね。
あれ、ネグリジェ専門店じゃない。
もちろんパジャマパーティー用ですわ。それに
Smoogie glanced at me and grinned. A giggle slipped from her lips.
あなたの可愛いネグリジェ姿を見たら、彼らもアタックせずにはいられないはず。一緒に住んでる強みですわね。
That is absolutely something that's not going to happen, Smoogie. Advantages, she says.
さあ、次のお店に行きますわよ。今日は久々に二人っきりでデートですもの。 じっくり楽しみませんと。
Tsumugi started humming with joy. I sighed. It wasn't that I disliked shopping. I did enjoy it, especially when I got to do it together with Tsumugi. It's just, Tsumugi and I had such utterly different attitudes about the actual act of shopping. In my case, I'd simply summon a department store sales representative to the house. Kasuga would choose some things for me and I'd pick what I liked. That's it. But Tsumugi would go to shop after shop after shop until she found exactly what she wanted. It was, frankly, exhausting. I was in awe of the sheer amounts of energy she had. Man, I want to go shopping with Tsumugi. Sounds fun.
ひばり様、ゆっくりしていたら試着する時間が減ってしまいますわよ。
まだ着替えるの？ねえ、その前に少し休まない？甘いものを補給しないと。
My tired entreaty was cut off by the ringtone of Tsumugi's phone.
実家からですわ。
Tsumugi looked at me apologetically. I nodded at her unspoken question.
少し失礼しますわね。はい、もしもし。
While Tsumugi stepped away, I checked my phone for any convenient cafes nearby where we could take a break. I really wanted something sweet. And if something sweet happened to involve strawberries and whipped cream, all the better. I was still hunting for a cafe when Tsumugi finished her call and came back.
申し訳ありません。実家絡みで急用が入ってしまいまして。
Tsumugi's apologetic expression endured. I shook my head.
紬が呼ばれるなんてよほどのことでしょ。買い物の続きはまた今度。早く行ってあげて。
ええ、ですが春日さんがお迎えに来てくださるまでは一緒に。
そんなに心配しないで大丈夫よ。子供じゃないんだから。さ、早く行って。
そうですか。ではお言葉に甘えさせていただきます。
Tsumugi reluctantly lifted an arm to flag down a taxi.
ひばり様、必ずこの埋め合わせはいたしますから。
ええ、また今度ね。
Tsumugi apologized again as she got into the taxi. I saw her off with a smile and a little wave.
それじゃあね。
ええ、どうか無事にお帰りくださいませ。
Tsumugi continued to shout advice from the moving car. Ah, she sounded so overwrought. Sighing at Tsumugi's overprotective nature, I pulled out my phone. I needed to tell Kasuga to come get me. No, wait a minute. You know, it's not every day I have alone time like this. Maybe I'll take a little stroll. I'm gonna guess that this is like a fancy area of town where that happens? I don't know. I know that when you're in larger cities, you do tend to see taxis wandering around, but yeah, I don't get it. I have never in my life flagged down a taxi. I prefer not to use a taxi if I can help it at all. That thought crossed my mind and a little thrill shivered in my tummy. Man, Tsumugi was already like... Tsumugi was right that she should have stayed with you until you got picked up. Hibari, you're... and you call her overprotected. Thinking back, I had hardly ever... No, I had never been alone out in public like this before. And going home right now only meant having to deal with whatever shenanigans those four were up to. Yes, I'll have a cup of coffee and go home by myself. That sounds lovely. I hardened my expression to stop a silly smile from rising on my face and strode off. Confident steps later, I ran smack into my first obstacle. Where do I go now? That was the first question. I looked up nearby cafes on my phone and ran into my next obstacle. There were so many cafes and coffee shops, I was overwhelmed with choices. Normally, I simply follow Tsumugi to whichever shop she wants to go to. Now that I was alone, it finally hit me that I never really went together. I'm guessing there should be a with in there. I never really went together with Tsumugi. She'd always taken me along with her. At the same time, I heard Tiger's voice in my head, saying the word sheltered. He used it often around me. Only a minute ago, I'd felt so confident, like I could explore the world by myself. And yet, now that confidence was deflated. Just thinking about my bravado made me flush in embarrassment. I guess I ought to call Kasuga. The thought floated into my mind, and I immediately felt even more embarrassed. I looked up on the verge of tears and saw a young man standing there smiling brightly. His cheery expression reminded me a little of a cute plushie I had at home. No, Hibari, don't speak to the strange man.
俺、ここら辺詳しいんだよね。行きたいとこあるなら連れてってあげるよ。さっきからずっと動かないから心配でさ。
この辺りに詳しいんですか？カフェとかも？
カフェ？知ってる超知ってる。なんなら俺のおすすめ教えてあげるよ。ね。一緒にお茶してちょっと食べろよ。
Let's go get coffee and chat. It was a line I'd heard many times before. Every time it came up, Tsumugi's expression turned icy. I'm not interested. Get lost. Or she would say something else along those lines. In other words, this man was hitting on me. The moment I realised that, I was suddenly very annoyed by his presence. Men like him pretended to be kind. Then they'd pry into their unwary victims and take advantage of them. It was one of the sleaziest things a person could do. Letting my aggravation show, I fixed him with a glare.
カフェは自分で探すので結構です。なので、もうあっちへ行ってください。お呼びじゃありませんので。
I quickly walked away, just as I'd observed Tsumugi do countless times in the same situation. That ought to make him give up and slink away.
Ah, もしかしてお姉さん、ツンデレ？今流行ってるもんね。俺も好き。遠慮しなくていいからさ、行こう。
Man, this guy needs to learn to take a hint. Leave me alone. I started walking faster, hoping to shake him loose. But then, the man reached out to grab me, his hand just barely brushing past my arm. He deserves a punch in the face. cold shiver ran down my spine and my voice fled. I'd never been treated this way before. No one had ever dared take such a crass attitude with the Tojo family heir. But to this man, I was just another high school girl. One that he could easily push around, hit on, and handle however he wanted. I shuddered, the realization sinking in. Clenching my jaw, I desperately tried to keep myself from hyperventilating. I can't show any fear. I have to look confident and keep resisting him until he gives up. Just as I was trying to think of something to say...
人の彼女に汚い手で触らないでくれるかな。
おい、離せ。
Who's the mystery man? Another man walked up. In one motion, he twisted the other man's arm away from me and pulled me close to him. Too stunned to speak, I stared at the newcomer. He wasn't Kasuga, that was for sure. In fact, I'd never seen him before. But he does warrant a CG, which I guess makes him important. He noticed me looking at him and gave me a quick sly wink.
さっきは僕が悪かったよ。あんなに怒るなんて思わなくて。ちゃんと謝るから許してくれるかい?
And he smiled. He's pretending to be my boyfriend. Yeah, the hair color is a little Ichiga. The eye color is a bit too. So it could be? The man who'd hit on me blinked in surprise but recovered quickly. Speaking harshly, he said,
嘘つくんじゃねえよ。この子さっきから迷子だったんだぜ。彼氏いるならさっさと呼び出すだろ。
話を聞いていなかったのかな。僕たちちょっと喧嘩しちゃってね。彼女も意地を張っちゃったんだよ。でも今僕はこうして彼女を迎えに来た。他に何か証拠が必要？
あんたが彼氏だって証拠はどこにもねえだろ。あっ、いってー。
The man who hit on me shrieked in pain as his arm was twisted further. My rescuer looked at me and smiled, almost like he was giving me a cue. I suddenly realized what his smile was asking of me. Hesitantly, I started to speak.
怖かったわ。もう怒ってないから。来てくれてありがとう。
悪いのは僕の方。君が可愛いからついいじめちゃって。許してくれ。
もちろんよ。
Do I think any of them could have an alternate personality that's this different from their normal one? Shion. I have my suspicions about Shion. He nodded and then turned to the man who'd hit on me, a big smile on his face.
というわけだから、正真正銘、彼女は僕の恋人。
He loosened his grip on the other man's arm. The sleazeball jerked his arm free and slunk away. You see, the problem here is that the hat and sunglasses really give the impression that this is someone who is disguising themselves. Like, As soon as the coast was clear, he removed his hand from my shoulder.
余計なことだったらごめんね。困ってたように見えたから。
はい、助かりました。ありがとうございます。
ああいうやつはちょっとでも隙があるとすぐに寄ってくるものなんだよ。そういう相手を探してるからね。
すみません。
I apologized, feeling a rush of embarrassment over my naivete. I can't believe I trusted that skeevy man even for a second. And to have to rely on a stranger to come rescue me, I was ashamed of myself. If Grandfather or the others found out about all this, they'd never let me hear the end of it. I couldn't hide my disappointment in myself. Apparently, this upset my rescuer as he hurriedly spoke up.
ああ、いや、お説教のつもりじゃないんだ。ごめん。そういえば、迷子って言われてたけど、どこかへ行く途中だった？
I quickly shook my head.
大丈夫です。もう帰るところなので、家の者に迎えに来てもらいますから。
それじゃあ、迎えが来るまで一緒にいるよ。また変なやつに絡まれたら危ないから。で、僕と一緒にお茶してくれると嬉しいんだけど。
Getting coffee together. Hearing that line a second time and so soon after the first offer made me gulp. Yes, he did help me, but I'd once again started to blindly trust the person I'd only just met. I couldn't believe my own stupidity. He must have noticed my expression shift because he gave me a wry smile.
安心して。そんなつもりないよ。ただ、少し落ち着いた方がいいのかなって思っただけだから。
He reached out and gently touched my hands. I didn't notice until he mentioned it, but he was correct. I was physically shaking. I hugged myself and took a deep breath, trying to make it stop. If I called Kasuga and he found me like this, I had the feeling he wouldn't just call the police. He would be livid at me too. Moreover, this was the type of embarrassing mistake that a member of the Tojo family was not allowed to make. He looked at me with eyes wide with gentle concern. Slowly, I nodded.
近くに美味しいパンケーキを出すカフェがあるんだ。紅茶もこだわってるし、そこへ行こう。
He started walking. I quietly followed behind him.
先ほどは本当にありがとうございました。
After we'd made our orders, I offered him a more formal thank you.
気にしないで。そのおかげで楽しくお茶できてるわけだし。
I had to find something to say. Any conversation topic. And yet words escaped me. I had no idea what to say. How about asking for his name? Silence stretched on, making me even more nervous. I had to find something to talk about, but what? What to talk about? What to talk about?
先ほどはありがとうございました。
I thanked him again, bowing in my seat. He broke out in a muffled chuckle.
それさっき聞いたよ。
I felt a blush creeping up my cheeks. I quickly looked down at my lap.
面白い人だね。そういえば自己紹介がまだだったね。僕のことはお兄さんでいいよ。
Suspicious! He's definitely in disguise.
僕の方が君より年上だと思うし。
そうかもしれませんけど。
じゃあ、お兄ちゃん？
そうじゃなくて。
ごめんごめん。僕のことはカズって呼んで。
Kazu smiled broadly as he apologized. He was clearly having fun. He looked at me expectantly.
私
Tojo. For some reason, the word felt stuck in my throat. I couldn't make it come out. It was a name that changed people, for better or for worse. If I even said Tojo, a person with whom I've been having a normal, pleasant conversation with would suddenly look at me with a different glint in their eyes. That change always frightened me.
言いたくなかったら無理しないで。でも呼べないのも不便だから、何かニックネームをつけようか。美人さんだからビューティーさんとか、髪が綺麗だからキューティクルさん。ああ、肌がスベスベだからスベコちゃん。
ひばりで。
My name popped out in a rush. Kazu smiled, looking very entertained by the whole thing.
ひばりさんだね。了解。
At least I managed to avoid any cheesy nicknames. I stifled a short sigh of relief. Our server arrived with our orders just then. I was thankful for the perfect timing.
いちごと生クリームのパンケーキとバナナショコラクリームミルフィーユ、アイスクリームのせでございます。
Ooh, both of those sound tasty.
パンケーキは彼女の方で。
かしこまりました。
Wow. Kazu's plate. I saw a mountain of bananas, chocolate mousse, ice cream. The toppings alone stretched up and up. The oh no. Excuse me while I butcher the pronunciation of that one. The milfeu itself was enormous.
甘いものお好きなんですか？
え？ああ、いや、そんなこともないんだけどね。ここに来るとつい食べちゃって。
Well, it certainly sounds like you like sweet things. Wait, was I actually close on that one? He mumbled, "It's good," and ducked his head shyly. I simply nodded.
いただきます。
Close-ish. I'll take it. My pancakes were unbelievably fluffy, my knife sinking into them with hardly any encouragement. I cut a modestly sized bite, put some whipped cream and strawberries on it, and brought it to my mouth. A mildly sweet and foamy pancake, surprisingly light whipped cream, and then there were the tangy strawberries smothered with a smooth chocolate sauce. It was so delicious I couldn't help but let a little sound of happiness escape me. Kazu smiled at me again, and I felt myself flush in embarrassment at my slip-up. I quickly took a sip of tea to collect myself, breathing a soft sigh of relief. This was so peaceful. I could hardly remember the last time I'd felt so relaxed over a cup of tea. I was with a person I'd only just met, too, and yet I felt strangely at ease. It would never be like this with them.
ひばりさん、君の唇は そのイチゴのように赤くて綺麗だ。まるで宝石そのものだね。味見してもいいかな。
ああ、これが飯？こんなんで腹膨れるがよ。つかお嬢、太るぞ。
このスイーツ飾り付けが綺麗だね。あ、もしかして他にも気になるメニューあったりする？全部頼んでいいよ。あそこの席の彼が好きなだけご馳走するって言ってくれたから。
うわー、クリームもっこもこ。二人でいっぱい食べちゃいましょう。すいません、ここに書いてあるの全部お願いします。
ダメだわ。
ごめん、何か悪いことしたかな。
I don't think that's it here. I must have said that out loud because Kazu suddenly looked up, worried.
違うんです。すみません。ちょっと知り合いを思い出して。
知り合い？
知り合いというほど遠慮はしないんですが。
I doubted any of them would learn the meaning of restraint even if I ground the dictionary into their faces.
じゃあ友達？
そういう関係にはなりたくないです。
If we did become friends, where would they take me to hang out? What activities would they expect me to do? I had no idea, and that terrified me.
友達になりたいんじゃないなら好きな相手か恋人かな。
絶対違います。
My answer was immediate and blunt. Kazu grimaced.
まあ微妙な関係っていうのはあるからね。相手は男の人？
I nodded.
もしよかったら僕に話してみない？何も知らない相手の方が話しやすいこともあると思うよ。
Kazu smiled encouragingly, but I hesitated. He didn't know me at all. Not only did he not know about my suitors, he didn't even know I was part of the Tojo family. When I looked at things from that angle, the burden of the ordeal felt just a little bit lighter.
実は今、男の人4人にお付き合いみたいなものを迫られてて。
4人同時に？それはすごいね。
しかも全員無職。
しがない会社員の僕にはちょっと理解できない感覚かな。
Ah, you're a businessman, Kazu. You don't look like one right now. I could tell Kazu was a little put off. I nodded in complete understanding. I couldn't wrap my mind around it either. And I had to live with it.
働いてないってなると時間も余ってるよね。アプローチは激しいの？
Shady business. Now, I bet he's famous somehow. And that's the reason for the hat and sunglasses. And the fake name.
激しいというより強引というか騒がしいのは確かです。
つまり迷惑？
迷惑です。
Kazu looked down, thinking for a moment.
それは断れないの？ごめんなさいって言ったら諦めるんじゃない？
Unfortunately, that doesn't work, Kazu.
いろいろ事情があって。
Just recalling the situation made me grit my teeth in annoyance.
複雑みたいだね。
はい。
でもそんなに迷惑だって感じてるなら、ひばりさんは彼らに好意はないんだね。
Fondness. Every time I was asked that, conflicting emotions welled up inside me.
確かに騒がしくて迷惑です。でもそこまで悪い人たちでもなくて、けど恋愛感情かって聞かれたらどうなんだろうって。
It irritated me that I couldn't explain it properly. I didn't hate them. At least I didn't think so. But what I felt towards them wasn't an emotion I could comfortably identify as love. What did love feel like anyway? If it ever did blossom in me, would I be able to point and say that's love? These thoughts were getting more and more invasive and were taking up more of my daily life. I bit back a sigh, electing not to vent my turmoil. But Kazu spoke up.
ひばりさんは真面目で優しい人なんだね。
え？
曖昧な気持ちのまま付き合うのは自分も相手も辛い。周囲に迷惑をかけるのも申し訳ない。でも周りは誰を選ぶんだと焦らせる。だから余計に気持ちがわからなくなって混乱する。僕にはそう見えるかな。
それです。
I almost leapt from my seat, but stopped myself. I was shocked. I'd never met anyone who could give voice to my feelings so clearly. Simply knowing someone understood was enough to make my dilemmas feel smaller by an order of magnitude. As I let relief wash over me, Kazu sat quietly and watched. After a moment, he said,
僕はそのままでいいと思うよ。ゆっくり考えて自分が納得できる答えを出す。そんなに焦らなくても大丈夫。
Kazu's words soaked into me like a balm. It felt like I had finally heard the words I'd been aching to hear for a long time.
まあ、通りすがりのお兄さんの言うことだからね。世間話程度に聞き流して。
Kazu smiled, but I shook my head.
すごくためになりました。ありがとうございます。
それならよかった。こう見えても僕、悩み相談は得意なんだよ。
And he's definitely been a good listener. Kazu's smile was mischievous. I couldn't help but smile along with him. After that, the two of us got to chatting. We didn't leave the coffee house until it was almost sunset. Being as shy as I was, it was a huge accomplishment to sit and chat naturally for hours with someone I'd just met. He's such a strange person. In fact, as I called home to request a ride, I was surprised to realize I was reluctant to say goodbye. You made a friend, Hibari.
パンケーキ代はやっぱり私が。
遠慮しないでって言ったでしょ。自分より若い女の子におごられたらカッコつかないよ。それより今日はありがとう。すごく楽しかったよ。
いえ、お礼を言うのはこちらです。
Hearing the sincerity in my voice, Kazu broke into a bright smile.
やっぱり真面目。そろそろ迎えが来るかな。
はい、近くまで来ているようなので。
そっか。じゃあ僕はそろそろ。ひばりさん。
Kazu paused for a moment, then stuck his hand into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Ooh, are we going to exchange whiz addresses so that we can talk more?
ウィスの ID 交換しない？
The man I'd just met asked me for my number. I stared at him in shock, but apparently he took it that the wrong way and started to panic.
あ、ナンパみたいになっちゃったけど、そうじゃなくて、ただ君ともっと話がしたいって思ったから。嫌ならいいんだ。ごめん、急に。
嫌とかじゃないです。よければぜひ。
本当に？
The fact that he knew nothing about me opened up so many potential topics to talk about. If I was to find the correct answer to my problems, I probably needed someone to really confide in. Kazu added my ID to his contact list, then looked up at me and smiled.
愚痴が言いたくなったらいつでも連絡して。悩み相談は得意だから。
Kazu said that last part with a sly wink. It was so funny I had to giggle.
あ、それからお願いなんだけど、今日僕と知り合いになったことは2人だけの秘密にしてほしいんだ。4人の戦いに巻き込まれるのは怖いからね。
Good point. If they found out I'd met Kazu, I knew that they would start pestering me to meet him. They were petty like that, and there was no scarier opponent than a petty opponent. But what about Kasuga? What would he do if he knew I'd given my contact information to a man I just met in the street? He would be upset. More than upset, he'd be furious.
秘密にしましょう。絶対に。
ありがとう。それじゃあ僕はこれで。
ありがとうございました。
Kazu had barely walked out of sight when headlights came up behind me.
ひばり様、お待たせいたしました。
Kasuga got out of the car, his usual smile on his face. Relief washed over me like a tropical wave.
全然待ってないわよ。大丈夫。
おや、ご機嫌がよろしいですね。楽しい一日を過ごされたようで。
ああ、つむぎのハイヤーの方が先に来て、それで先に帰ったの。
Technically, nothing in that sentence is a lie. Kasuga looked at me sharply. I quietly looked back. Stay calm. Stay calm. I held his gaze steadily, as if I had nothing to hide. My honest look must have reassured him, because his expression brightened.
そうですか。私もご挨拶したかったのですが、残念です。では、帰りましょう。
そうね。
I ducked into the car before he thought of more questions. Kasuga got into the front passenger seat, and as soon as he closed the door, the car began to move. Wait, I always thought Kasuga was driving. I guess that's not the case. I guess there's a driver. Today was a long day. My first attempt at truly trying to do something on my own led to me being hit on by a skeevy stranger. The event made me painfully aware of my own naivete. But those mistakes led me to meet Kazu. He listened to me. He even gave me his Wiz ID. For the first time, a man asked for my contact info. Just thinking about Kazu brought a smile to my face. My shriveled vulture of a grandfather said my only hope was mixer parties. I wished I could show him the number. It proved I could make friends with men normally.
ひばり様。
Kasuga sounded curious. I quickly turned and looked out of the window. Alright, next board, Shion. Rabby video. Whiz message. Rabby first. Oh! Rabby, what are you doing? I could not believe what Rabby recorded. This is wrong, so wrong, completely unethical. None of the guys knew Rabby could photograph them, of course. So there was no way Shion would find out. But he looked right at the camera. If they all find out, I'm totally dead. Oh my gosh, I saw nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm scrubbing it from my memory. I buried my bright red face in my hands and desperately tried to banish the sight of Shion's beautiful live form from my memory. Ah yes, and having obtained the CG, we now no longer have the option for the second floor. The dining room or the kitchen or the yard? I think the yard. Let's send Rabby to the yard. Message from Kazu. Good evening. We did exchange Wiz IDs, so I thought I'd send you a message. I had fun this afternoon too. Thanks. I'm glad I got to meet you, Hibari. It sounds like you have a lot on your plate, but try not to overdo it, okay? If you need an ear, I'll gladly listen. No, thank you. I appreciate all your help. Thanks for the advice you gave me. I feel a little better now. Really? He uses emoticons. I'm glad to hear it. We should get coffee again together sometime. Just let me know when. I will. Thank you. I look forward to it. How on earth are you going to meet him for coffee again? Hibari. Like, how's that going to go? Right, fit to choose. Shion is basically incomprehensible to me. But today he asks me about my thoughts on fashion. A young man with a gentle, soft-spoken demeanour and a beauty that attracts people of all ages. Shion Mayazumi. He showed up as one of my potential grooms. He's the kind who loves only refined things and lives his life with much assistance from others. I absolutely cannot understand that lifestyle. I have no idea why Grandfather chose him. No, not at all. Not one bit. Since we're all living together, I've slowly but surely gotten to know the other suitors better. Except him. He's still a mystery to me.
Tadaima. Hibari-san, お帰りなさい。何か飲みますか？何がいいですか？持ってきます。
今は大丈夫。
学校お疲れ様。時間ぴったりだね。ちょうど君のためのマフィンが焼き上がったところなんだ。
今はお腹空いてないから。
はいはい、じゃあ俺が食べます。
却下。 ひばりさんのためのマフィンはひばりさんにしか食べてほしくない。
せっかく焼きたてなのに。じゃあ味見だけでも。
Let him have one!
必要ない。こら待てなゆた、どこに行く気だ？
オーブンが俺のこと呼んでる気がして。
そんなはずないだろう。こら待て。
As hectic as ever. Ever since I started living with these boys, I haven't had time to relax. It's like this every day. But I've made up my mind to try and interact with them. I've even been resisting the urge to escape to my room lately. I've been thinking that I need to figure out who is suitable to be my future groom. I'd rather not choose any of them, to be honest. But what Grandfather has said stuck with me. They have something I don't. Nothing's jumping out at me, though. I wondered if what he said was true, and sighed.
ひばりちゃん、こっちこっち。
Shion cheerfully waved me over from the sofa.
何？
君はどれがいいと思う？
え？
Shion pointed to the coffee table. There were various magazines spread all over it. There isn't just one type of magazine either. They ran the gamut from men's and women's fashion to specialized ones I'd never seen.
これ全部シオンさんの？
全部ではないよ。こっちのバイク雑誌はタイガから借りてきた。
Is Shion really interested in that?
どうかした？
いえ。
僕には似合わない？
そうじゃないけど、ただ少し意外というか。
アンテナは常に広く。それが僕の心がけていることなんだ。好きなものだけ見てるっていうのも幸せなのかもしれないけど、でもそれじゃ視野が狭くなっちゃうよね。たまにはこうやって普段触れないようなジャンルのものにも手を出してみると新しい発見があって楽しいよ。
楽しい？
うん、楽しい。まあ単純にこういうものを眺めているのが好きというのもあるんだけど、ひばりちゃんももっとこっちへ来てよく見てごらん。
As I sat down on the couch, Shion pulled the fashion magazines over to me.
ちなみにさっきまでみんなと君に似合いそうな服について話してたんだ。
ひばりさんのようなクール系の美人にはこの大人っぽい服がよく映えると思うな。
ひばりさんだったら何でも似合いますよ。でもこのかかとが尖った靴いいなあ。背中にギューって食い込みそう。
Of course the thing Nayata likes the look of is the stilettos. They stood peering at the magazine over both my shoulders. When did they even come out of the kitchen? Ichi's suggestion was a tight dress that was a bit on the daring side. Nayata was fixated on some bright red stilettos.
二人ともそれは彼女に似合うかどうかじゃなくて自分が着てほしいと思ってるものでしょう。
ああ、絶対似合いますよ。
そうだよシオン。俺は彼女を輝かせるものをしっかりと把握し、その上で完璧なコーディネートを。
じゃあシオンさんはひばりさんに何が似合うと思います？
そうだね。僕は自分の手で彼女をプロデュースしてみたいかな。頭の先から爪の先まで全て。
なんかプロみたい。
ひばりちゃんの好きなジャンルをベースに、そこから似合う色と形、季節や出かける場所も考慮して。なんだかワクワクするね。僕の考えたコーデが君のお気に入りになってくれたら嬉しい。
I looked down at the magazines, unable to meet Shion's innocent and angelic smile.
まあシオンも割と女性のファッションに精通しているようだね。
ファッションに限らず審美眼には自信がある方だよ。ずっと綺麗なものを愛し続けてきたから。僕の手でそれをもっと綺麗に飾ることができたらとても幸せだと思わない？もちろん誰にでもそうしたいとは思わないけど。
He said that, Shion looked into my eyes with intense interest. How on earth does Shion's top actually stay on? His smile was so gentle and radiant that I was afraid to look right at him. I can't figure him out.
ねえ、ひばりちゃん。君はいつもどういう基準で服を選んでるの？参考までに教えてもらいたいな。
それは。
I hesitated in answering Shion's question. Kasuga always picks things out for me, which we had just learned when she was talking about shopping with Tsumugi. Basically, he chooses clothes from a stylist's recommendations, then he shows me what he picked. As long as I don't hate them, I just buy whatever he suggests. Sometimes I go shopping with Tsumugi, but I always ask Kasuga's opinion at the end of the day. But for some reason I'm finding it hard to tell that to Shion. As I struggled for an answer, Kasuga came into the living room with a bright smile on his face.
随分と賑やかですね。雑誌を広げて何のお話ですか？
これシオンさんの雑誌なんです。それで今ひばりさんがいつもどんな服を選んでるのか話してたところで。
なるほど。それでしたら私が代わりにお答えしましょう。ひばり様には東条家令嬢として恥ずかしくないものをお召しになっていただかないといけません。ですからまずは清潔感があって上品であることが必要です。
Hopefully Kasuga has a better idea of this than her makeup. Yep.
確かにひばりさんが着てるものっていかにもお嬢様って感じしますよね。
あとはひばり様のお顔立ちに合わせて比較的はっきりした色味のものを選ばせていただいております。
俺も彼女にはパステル系よりビビッドな色の方が似合うと思ってたよ。
Both Ichiro and Naoto were thoroughly impressed with Kasuga's perfect answer. However, a gloomy expression clouded Shion's beautiful face.
僕が知りたいのはルールじゃなくてひばりちゃんの好みなんだけど。
Shion didn't look at Kasuga. He looked directly at me.
私もそれで不満はないわ。第一印象は大事だし。それに選んでもらった服はちゃんと私に合っていると思う。
ひばり様のことならばこの私が一番存じております。
ひばりちゃんが東条家令嬢としての立場を気にしているのは分かった。でもプライベートの時ぐらいはもう少し冒険してみてもいいんじゃないかな。
Adventurous. Something new. Shion's words echoed in my mind. No, I'm good. I'm good. You have a
今のままで
fence.
十分よ。特に変える必要性も感じない。
I look presentable and sophisticated. And I'm still the only Tojo family heir, even in my private life. That won't ever change. Got the Lolita Hibari. I'm not sure if Gothic Lolita is the play for her. I think a different Lolita style, maybe. If it ain't broke.
本当に？
本当に。
I didn't have anything to hide, but I looked away, feeling like he could see right through me.
ひばり様もこうおっしゃっています。ご納得されてはいかがでしょう、眉住様。
もちろん今のスタイルも悪くないと思うんだけど、もっとひばりちゃんらしく綺麗になれる方法はあるんじゃないかな。
お気持ちだけいただいておきます。
I tried to quickly end the conversation.
お二人とも
Oh my gosh, this is so awkward. The two stood in silence, pressure building between them like an oncoming storm. Their thin smiles did little to alleviate the tension. I'd rather be anywhere else right now. Just then, an unexpected savior appeared.
ああ、腹減った。一夜、なんかつまむもんねえか。あ、なんだ、二人とも睨み合って喧嘩か。
さあ、私着替えてくる。
では、私もご一緒に。
なんなんだよ一体。
I went and got changed, but Shion's words still rang in my mind. What are the chances we get a scene of Shion and Kasuga fighting over what clothes she should wear? Yeah, probably. Adventurous, something new.
ねえ、春日。
責任のない世界で生きてらっしゃる眉住様とひばり様とでは立場が違います。
Kasuga knew what answer to give without me even needing to ask the question.
彼の理屈も間違いではありませんが、それがひばり様にも当てはまるとは限りません。あまりお気になさらずに。
そうよね。
Kasuga's advice calmed my anxious nerves. I am who I am. Besides, what I like and what suits me are different things. I don't think Shion would ever understand. Rabby video.
お役立ち機能とかねえのかよ。お、なゆたじゃねえか。背中丸めてどうした？なんだよ、神経くせえな。なんかあったのか？
またひばりさんを怒らせちゃって。俺このままじゃ追い出されちゃうかも。そうしたら役に立つことも。ああ、どうしよう、タイガーさん。
わかったから落ち着けって。で、今度は何やらかした？
ランニング中に車に乗ってるひばりさんを見かけて全速力で追いかけたんです。
You're not getting over the dog allegations, Snyder. Chasing cars.
そんだけか？
それでひばりさんに夢中になってたら電信柱に正面衝突して折っちゃったんです。
You hit that with some force, Snyder.
てか足か？
電信柱。警察の人と春日さんに怒られて、ひばりさんはバカって言ってからずっと目を合わせてくれないし。
まあ言いてえことは山ほどあるが、とりあえずお前は本能的すぎんだよ。お嬢を見つけたから全力疾走って犬か。
だってひばりさんがいたらすぐそばに行かなきゃって。
This human dog has separation anxiety.
電信柱撃破するとこ見せられたら誰だってビビるっつうの。キレられてる理由はそこだろう。
じゃあ俺電信柱避ける練習します。
バカ、そこじゃねえ。問題はお前が考えなしに行動するとこだ。もっと考えてから動け。
でも俺気づいた時には動いてて、どうしよう。どうしたらいいんですか？
確かにお前のその問題は深刻だからな。どうすっか。ダメか。
そんな、それじゃあ俺本当に。
つかそもそも那由他に考えろってのが無理な話か。じゃあまあ体が動き出す前に心の中で10秒数えろ。まずはそこからだ。
わかりました。やってみます。
那由他、おい口開けろ。息吸え。
こんな感じですか
Without holding your breath, please.
考えろとは言ったが息を止めろとは言ってねえよ。
There were so many holes in their logic that they made my brain hurt. How in the world are we going to get Naya to learn to think? No, it's hopeless. I'll just leave Nayata in Tiger's hands for now. That's probably for the best. I turned away from Rabbi with a loud sigh. Okay. What does Ichia think of Shion? What's this? I picked up a magazine that was left out on the couch. It's a magazine on international fashion. Had to be Shion's. Madly curious, I began to flip through it. Then I remembered the awkward situation from the other day.
どうしたのかな？君にため息なんて似合わないよ。
一夜さん。
はあ、それシオンの雑誌？こんなところに置きっぱなしにするなんて困ったやつだな。
Ichia looked like he wanted to give Shion a stern talking to. For some reason, I chose that moment to ask.
シオンさんってどんな人だと思う？
え？シオン？
苦手？
いや、そういうわけじゃないよ。ただまあ、ああ見えて結構辛辣なところがあるからね。
たまに心にぐさぐさと。
そう。
でもね、ひばりさん、それは彼が俺をライバルとして意識している証なんだよ。ああ、俺はなんて罪な男なんだ。だが俺は君を彼に譲ることはできない。なぜなら俺は君を愛しているから。あれ？
I stared back at him with a serious look as he forced a flustered smile.
ああ、そうだ。シオンのことだったよね。まあ時々ぐさっとくることを言わなければそこそこ見どころのある男だと思うよ。それにあの美的センスは普段からいろんな芸術に触れていないと養えないものだろ。
確かに。
それもあって彼と話していると勉強になることも多いんだ。知的な会話なんてシオン以外とはできないし。
Yeah, I get that. But
でも彼があれだけ博識なのは交友関係のおかげでしょ。
まあそうだろうね。
we nodded at each other in understanding, with mixed emotions on both our faces. Rabby time.
お役立ち機能とかねえのかよ。楽しみだ。楽しみでしょうがねえ。
あれ？タイム？なんで一人で笑ってるの？
お、気になるか？
そうでもないかな。
なら教えてやるよ。実は駄菓子屋でいろいろ仕入れてきてな。
もしかしてまたあの不気味な色のお菓子？
それもあるが本命はこっちだ。
本当にたくさん出てきたけど、これおもちゃ？ずいぶん安っぽい作りだね。
ああ、これは水風船つってな。中に水を入れて投げると破裂する。
なんか不穏なんだけ
ど。面白そうだろ。さっき風呂場で水も入れてきたぜ。ぶつけられたらビビるだろう。
それはまあね。
で、次はこれだ。
紙が巻かれた棒。
I guess there's more stuff than just candy.
これをこうやって振ると
なんか伸びたけど。
ペーパーヨーヨーっていうらしいぜ。いきなりだとビビるだろ。
まあ目の前に伸びてきたらね。
それから極めつけはこの強力水鉄砲。このボタンをいろいろ押すと水の出方が変わる。ボタンいじるだけでも面白いだろ。
それでそれをどうするつもり？
決まってんだろ。お嬢をビビらせる。あいついつも気取ってるからな。どんな顔するか楽しみだぜ。
I don't think that's a good idea, Tiger.
それ僕は聞かなかったことにする。ひばりちゃんに嫌われたくないし。あれ？まだ袋に何か残ってるけど。
残念だな、シオン。お嬢の面白い顔を見るチャンスだってのに。ああ、楽しみって。へ
え、好きな子いじめってこういうことか。
は？
好きな子に気にしてほしくてついいじめちゃうあれだよね。
お前何言って。
違うの？
当然。
じゃあこれは何？キラキラのおはじき、ビー玉、ぬいぐるみ、貝殻のネックレス。かわいいものばっかり。
いや、なんだ、これは。
どう見ても女の子用だよね。興味ありませんみたいな顔して タイガもやるじゃない。
いやだからこれは
素直にプレゼントすればいいのに。
いやだからそうじゃねえって。とにかくしまえ。で水風船が水鉄砲を。
ああ、自分に攻撃しちゃってる。タイが動揺しすぎ。あ、執事君が木の陰からこっち見てる。
春日？
ひばりちゃんにいたずらしようとしたのがバレてお説教かな。じゃ、僕は自分の部屋に戻るから。
ちょっと待て。
あ、タイガー。
あ、
好きな子いじめもほどほどにね。
だからそうじゃねえ。
You wanted to surprise me using kids' toys. So that's why Kasuga spent so long lecturing him right in the middle of the courtyard. How immature can a person be? I think Shion said some nonsense about Tiger and me too, but I'll pretend I didn't hear that. Nope, didn't hear anything at all. Speaking of Tiger, what does Tiger think of Shion? Sounds like a motorcycle. Tiger's probably in the garage again. I decided to go have a look.
なんだお嬢か。俺が恋しくなっちまったの。
違います。
相変わらずツンツンしてんな。で、どうした？少しぐらいならおしゃべりに付き合ってやるけど。
As he spoke, Tiger went back to working on his motorcycle. I could feel my tension ease since we weren't speaking face to face.
タイガさんってシオンさんとは真逆よね。その割にうまくやってるように見えるけど、実際はどうなの？聞こえてる？
聞こえてるよ。なんだお嬢、あいつに惚れちまったか。
ちょっとなんでそういう。
ああ、悪い。舌先走っちまったな。
He's so quick to make fun of me. It's really an annoying habit of his.
真面目に話して。
はい。確かに俺とシオンはタイプ的には真逆かもしれねえけど、お互い遠慮がねえから結構気楽な関係だね。なんつうか、あいつはな、一言で言うと宇宙人なんだよ。
宇宙人？
俺の理解できねえ世界に生きてるってこと。何話してものらりくらりしてるしよ。いちややなよたみてえに面白い反応もしねえし。
I think he means it's not fun to tease Shion.
誰かに依存しなきゃ生きられねえって感じにも見えるんだが、実際のところあいつが一番自由なんだよな。俺も今までいろんなやつを見てきたが、ああいうやつは初めてだ。面白いよ。
Interesting, huh?
面白い？得体が知れないのに？
そりゃ目の前に宇宙人が現れたらワクワクするだろ。お嬢はビビるタイプか。あとはあいつが海外育ちってのも俺の性に合っている理由の一つかもな。ああ見えて主張がはっきりしてるから、地雷さえ踏まなけりゃ気が楽なんだよ。変にごまかしたりしねえから信用もできるし。
強引なところはどうかと思うけど。
ゆるっとしてるくせに推しは強いからな、あいつ。主張の強さじゃお嬢も負けてねえと思うが、実はこの中で誰よりも日本人気質だからね。相性がいいかどうかは知らねえけど、頑張れよ。
大きなお世話です。
I'm fine with the way I am. I think.
Ready. なかなか優秀な密偵ですよ。
いちや、これでスイーツは揃ったの？
ああ、俺の愛を込めたこのハート型ラブプレートを真ん中に置いて完成だ。我ながら完璧すぎる。
しかしすげえ量だな。パンケーキにパフェにプチロールケーキのタワー。
おお、このプリンすっごく美味しい。
それにしてもティーパーティーの予行練習なのに張り切ったね。
本当だぜ。本番は来週だろ。なのにこんな大量に。
予行練習だからこそ大量なんだよ。これは試食会も兼ねてるからね。本番で出すスイーツを厳選するつもりさ。
つまり俺たちは毒味役か。これ甘すぎだろ。
そうだね。僕ももう少しさっぱりしてる方が好みかな。
もうどれも美味しい。
じゃあ残りはお前にやるよ。ほら。
僕もナユタにあげる。
やったー、ありがとうございます。二人とも優しい。幸せ。ニチャさん、チョコケーキのおかわりください。
僕は紅茶のおかわり。
俺はしょっぱいもんくれ。
君たち。うん、このモカロールっていうのも美味しかった。俺まだまだ食べられます。一夜さん、おかわりください。ここはスイーツ食べ放題じゃないんだ。もう何もないよ。ああ、
こんだけ食いまくったんだからもういいだろう。
ナユタの胃袋はブラックホールだね。
Yep, it is indeed.
まだ食べ足りない。日夜さん、本当にもう。あれ、このラブって書いてあるプレート、クッキー。すごいバターのいい香りが。ナユタ、これはダメだぞ。なんでですか？このハートのラブには俺の愛が込められているんだ。ナユタには渡せない。
Well, why did you make it for the taste testing? Yeah.
いいじゃないですか。少しくらい。ダメだ。これだけは渡さない。もうクッキー抱えちゃってね。ちょっとだけ端っこでいいですから。ハートのかけたラブがあるか。ちょっとだけだから。こっちに来るな。タイガー、シオン、見てないでナユタを止めてくれ。
いいじゃねえか。本番は来週だろ。腐る前に食べさせちまえよ。
というか本番は焼かない方がいいよ。そういうの嫌がるから彼女。
They both have good points, Ichia. Let Nayuta eat it.
そういうわけだから、おとなしくナユタに食ってもらえ。
ほら、タイガさんもシオンさんもああ言ってるし、 いいでしょイエー俺の愛が詰まったプレートだけは絶対に渡さなかっ。
あ、転んだ。
いったプレートがない。一体どこへ。
It's either already in Nayata's hands or it's on the floor and it's about to be in Nayata's hands.
ない、クッキーが食べられに来た。やめ。シオンさんもタイガさんもいいって言ってたし。いただきまーす。俺のラブが。
That's the way the cookie crumbles. Oh, that was hilarious. I think we'll end on that hilarious point. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. It's been fun. We met someone who is, well, not one of them. Anyway, if you've enjoyed your time and you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also follow me on social media, which is linked in the description box. The streaming schedule for the channel is available both over there on social media and over here on YouTube in the posts tab. Yeah, okay, we met 3 people that aren't one of them. But yes, only one of them was important. That's true. Yes, the next scheduled stream is Wednesday, 7 PM to finish up this part of Twisted Wonderland's main story as we wake Riddle up, and then our party is complete. So we hope to see you then, or another time. Once again, thank you very much for coming, and this is Kalla signing out. See ya, bye bye.